I think we're set.
All the world has fallen to Kairos, and now the Overlord's eye is on the Tears, our home. The last corner of the world free of Kairos' reign. 2 armies, the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, march south from the Northern Empire, the last realm to fall to Kairos a century prior. In the early days of 428, Kairos' armies arrive at the Gates of Judgment, the mountainous border that we Tearsmen so long believed unassailable. Unable to agree on a unified plan of defense, the various leaders of the Tears sit and wait for each other to deal with the conquerors, until it's too late.
Conquest. Kairos invasion of the Tears, shaping the game. Okay. Each choice you make affects your character and how a major faction of the Tears respond to you. Your decisions matter. Choose wisely. 428 here. Tier 1 of the Kairos. The Bastard City. The Bastard City stood on the northern border between Kairos' empire and the Tears, built upon a natural harbor at the crossroads between realms. The city was the nexus of commerce. To the Tears, it was the center of all wealth, and to a northerner, it was little more than a backwater trading post. Oh, thank you, Streamo. Its symbolic status as a gateway to the continent made it a natural first target in Kairos' military conquest. Circumstances were ideal for you to prove your worth as a soldier in Kairos' army. Taking the city would send a message to the rest of the Tears. Kairos' will is insurmountable. Select a token on the map to begin. Gates of Judgment. In the first major engagement of the war, Kairos' army crossed the mountains and established a foothold. Both armies sent their forces to prepare the way. Okay, the armies of Kairos took the battle of the Gates of Judgment. I need to make a choice. Note which of the 4 choices you make, you can't change it. Oh. Okay. History would remember the Gates of Judgment as the first battle of the conquest. The real combat unfolded with advanced units of both armies preparing for the coming war. The Disfavored and Scarlet Corps each had a plan to infiltrate the capital city. Which army did you join? Army whose approach best suited your strength. Kairos' ironclad elite, you advanced on the mercenary army purchased by the nobles of the Bastard City. The Legion wanted to send a message here that superior breeding and disciplined training would win the day. You crushed the chaotic mass of the Scarlet Corps, flanked the Bastard City's army, and drove them to flee. You lent your skills to the elite Disfavored scouts to capture a bordered garrison. Graven Ash insisted that an early victory in the offense would boost the morale of his troops and diminish the haughty overconfidence of the Southerners. During the Scarlet Course, as they raided villages and small towns, conscripted every able-bodied man and woman to the army. The voices of Nereid. Huh. No, no, for a fact I'll spend the first 2 hours with this. That's okay. That's fine. That's fine by me. Oh boy. Sure, let's do it. The Bastard City learned too late that a military is earned and never bought. The mercenary army quickly found themselves outclassed by the superior tactics and formation of the disfavored. Those few who lived at the end of the battle were rounded up, the weak executed, and the strong enslaved to haul the army's wagons on the journey south. Beating the host against the most optimistic projections, the disfavored and Scarlet Corps made short work of the local defenses. They did so well that the armies quickly outpaced their supply caravans. Troops were plentiful, but food was scarce. He only had time to execute one plan to secure provisions. He authorized the disfavored troops to confiscate food and supplies from traveling merchant caravans. The Tiers had already spent ignorant centuries gliding themselves outside of Kyrios' law. Send their horde out to pillage from farms and villages, spreading the infamy of Kyrios' army, prepared the Tiers for the reality of the impending conquest. To judge the enemy, the soldiers of the Tiers fell by the hundreds, and Kyrios' armies could not agree on how to handle what few survivors they dragged back to camp. Befitting her role, the commanders turned to you to decide the fate of those who occupied prison pens. There were only enough prisoners to support the plan of a single army. Needed slaves to haul their gear, dig latrines, and keep their pallets warm and at night. You can find the survivors. Are you consigned? Consigned? Oh god. Words. The survivors of battle. The survivors of battles to their observant role among Raven Ashen Noble's troops. He gave prisoners the chance to serve in Kairos' army or die. The Scarlet Corps was in need of extra troops to fill up the vanguard, and your former enemies would occupy those slots nicely. Wow. I knew I wasn't going to be comfortable with this. It's just like... Keep their pallets warm. Yeah. Yeah. Whew. Whew. Oh, man. Wow. I was... Oh, boy. I wasn't... Like I said, I wasn't exactly knowing what I was getting into. And hearing that we're the baddies, my heart kind of just dropped. I don't know what to do. I don't play evil characters. Have you seen my channel? I don't play evil characters at all. I am too much of a goody two-shoes. Anyways, yeah. Yeah. Defined baddies. We are just a guy with almost unlimited influence and a giant tyrant's conquering army. We aren't the bad guy, just just the instiller of the new order. Did I check the other? Yeah, I did. Feeding the host. Basically, it's confiscate from traveling merchants, or pillage towns. Neither one I'm too particularly like caring for. The pillage towns. Only too pleased to follow this particular order, the Scarlet Corps divided up outlying farms and villages among their gangs and set out to collect provisions. Though they returned with wagons laden with supplies, the terror and destruction sowed in their path that boosted morale and ensured that everyone from the Bastard City too stalwart knew their name. I mean, it's up to you, but I think the other two choices have much more problematic inclination. Yes, I would actually agree. Taking the Bastard City. The armies of Chaos amassed around the Bastard City, the first bastion of the Tears to fall. Both armies longed to storm the walled outposts. The Scarlet Corps howled for plunder, and the disfavored forming an unbreakable shield wall. Your prowess on the battlefield of battle had carried them this far, but there was one more step before total victory. Both of the armies had inspired schemes to take the Bastard City. Which did you support? I just want to see the game already. I know. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is sort of we're basically talking about our backstory apparently. But anyways, how you doing, Rich? This is the first part of the game. These choices have big impacts. Let's see. Take the Bastard City. Okay, you join the disfavored vanguard and direct assault upon the city gates. No fortification. You join the Scarlet Corps in setting fire to the city and blocking the gates. The defenders would surrender or burn. You led a mixed band of disfavored and Scarlet Corps scouts over the city walls to sabotage. What kind of game is this? This is a CRPG. But anyways, what's up, bro? Not much, man. How about you? Concealing shadows plus 100%. Plus 100%. Raise deflection. Ooh. Searing palm. And then minus 50% damage plus. Ooh. Classic. The C is for classic RPG. So, essentially thinking like Baldur's stuff like Baldur's Gate 1, Baldur's Gate 2, Pathfinder Kingmaker, stuff like that. Right now we're kind of going over our backstory. It actually, you know, funny enough, it actually used to stand for computer RPG instead of just nowadays it's just classic. Yeah, let's go with this. Boo. It was passing strange to barricade the very gates you sought to cross, but it all made sense when the fires began. The Scarlet Corps sent a constant rain of flaming arrows over the walls of the Bastard City. A plague that lasted through long days and tireless nights. By the end, the blaze was too much for the city defenders to contain. Citizens crowded at the gates, pleading to be freed from their smoldering city. You and your army were happy to oblige them. When the gates opened, they opened from inside. Okay, next up, the bastard city settled into a new state of normalcy. With every tower displayed in Kairos' banner, your name was whispered alongside rumors of a decorated career to come. The armies divided into two fronts and migrated south. Hunan sent word that you were to join the next frontier of Kairos' conquest, either as judge and overseer of the settlement of Lethian's Crossing, or as a war advisor with the armies advancing into the realm of Apex. Let's continue the war. We're a soldier after all. Boop. Okay. The mountain nation of Apex, ruled for generations by the queens of House Vendrin, stood at the heart of the tiers. No army could bypass the landlocked realm without leaving their flanks exposed to attack. By the second year of the war, the disfavored and Scarlet Chorus had pushed deep into the tiers. Elements of both armies were dispatched to conquer Apex. Antonin assigned you to accompany them, tasked with bringing Kairos' law to the territory as well as keeping an eye on both armies. Good God, it is windy outside. Like the dust and sand that's actually hitting my window sounds like it's hitting it hard. Ugh. My hope is nothing gets cracked by the end of this. All right, more stuff to go. And we got like two more after this. The Battle of the Edge passed. The disfavored sent their most destructive ally to crush Edgard Fort. Cairn, Archon of Stone, triggered from the surrounding. Okay. Triggered from the surrounding mountains. The Scarlet Chorus were promised captured enemies for recruitment, yet none survived the onslaught. The Chorus demanded compensation. You congratulate the disfavored for taking the pass without risking the lives of Kairos' loyal servants. At this stage of the campaign, it was vital to use any advantages that would mitigate any losses. You upheld the Scarlet Chorus' claim and demanded that the youngest disfavored scouts join the Chorus to settle the debt. Rude. A denial of strength. A school of water mages loyal to the Tiersmen posed a substantial threat. The disfavored wished to annihilate the school, while the Scarlet Chorus insisted on capturing the mages, wishing to learn of their craft. You sided with the disfavored. All mages had a chance to surrender before the war, and trying to capture the enemy would lead to needless losses. You sided with the Scarlet Chorus to ordering the mage elders taken alive for interrogation. Scarlet Chorus aims were insignificant compared to the lossless victory. You congratulated the disfavored and encouraged the Scarlet Chorus to better value their soldiers' lives. A suggestion that gang bosses took worse than the original offense. Vowing to remember this, the slighted army returned to camp to sulk, if not lick their wounds. Ooh. Swords of the Fallen. Scarlet Chorus soldiers were seen wearing disfavored gear, supposedly taken from those who fell in battle. The disfavored were outraged, citing tradition that their armor passed only to the next of kin within the army. In a debate of tradition versus practicality, you had to rule favor ruled in favor of one army over another. To upheld the traditions and punished those wearing the legion's iron. The army had come to deliver Kyrus' peace, which came with a higher standard. Neither favors complaint, as the demands of war rendered such vain customs irrelevant. Lacking in a suitable armor, the Scarlet Courses would retain what they had collected. What's over here? The marriage bed armistice. The enemy readied for a peacetime festival as Kyrus' forces formed for battle. The disfavored paid no mind to the southern custom and planned to attack the Vendrian forces during their annual celebrations. The Scarlet Course insisted on a day of non-violence. As former tiersmen, many could grasp the decency of temporary reprieve. Instead of the disfavored commander and paid no homage to the bygone custom, interrupting a cultural pastime and slaughtering your way through non-combatants. You offer the locals their last feast, sending a few Scarlet Courses agents into the mix in good faith. The army hoped that the gesture would foster an air of partnership with the occupation to come. Huh. You know what? Sure, go for it. The festivities went off as expected, and the Scarlet Course recruits you sent to enjoy themselves reported little animosity among the revelers. The disfavored protested your ruling as too merciful and waged all-night training drills to combat the sound of celebration with an anthem of swords and shields. You sent forces to attack the following day, a battle from which the disfavored recussed themselves out of protest. What? What is that word? Oh. Whoops. With the defeat of Apex inevitability, the armies of Kyrus met to discuss how to put an end to this stage of the conquest. Both armies agreed to send an offer of parley. Along with their acceptance, the enemies requested that you appear at the meeting. Word of your fair dealings had apparently spread to their ranks. How did you orchestrate the surrender of the realm? Through days of meditation, you negotiated the surrender of the valley to Kyrus' forces, putting an end to further bloodshed. Taunting the Queen of Apex into striking you under a banner of truce, you baited the Queen of Apex into a duel and slew her, frightening her vassals into submission. Your former enemies were loath to part with their lands, but they were even more reluctant to continue a war they were losing at every turn. The Tiersmen are a stubborn lot, and despite their grim situation, it still took days of discussion and diplomacy to show them the madness of tenacity. The third day of meditation, the rulers of Apex finally submitted. Okay. Finally rested in the hands of Kairos. Kairos' forces, Scarlet Course paused to revel in victory while the disfavored prepared for the next fight, affording themselves but an evening's rest. Kairos' armies radiated out from the conquered citadel and worked their way across the tiers. The disfavored and Scarlet Course aimed to dominate a much as much territory as possible in the coming year. Your distinguished reputation in Kairos' military left the choice of your next destination yours to make. Well, I suppose I... Okay, thinking about this strategically. If I take this, I'll take Stalwart. I could essentially cut off retreat into the waters. No, yeah, we'll confirm. I already convinced myself probably a little too easily. Anyways, here we go. The realm of Stalwart was best known for its proud army, disciplined, courageous, and undefeated on their home soil. Skill and resolve made Stalwart a military power that Kairos' forces approached with due caution. With its southern position, Stalwart had been largely safe from war, watching for 2 years as its neighbors fell to Kairos' forces. On the dawn of the third year of war, Kairos' forces were finally poised to invade the Stalwart Peninsula and subdue their tier's most vaunted army. Marching on empty, Stalwart defenders burned their crops as they retreated, leaving the invaders little to forage, starving the Scarlet Chorus mob raided from the disfavored's well-maintained supply lines, incurring casualties on both sides. He ordered that the thieving Scarlet Chorus soldiers be spiked for their affront. By your command, the disfavored shared their provisions. The thieves each lost a hand for their treachery. And what's the other one? A contentious setback. After a defeat at the hands of enemies' defenders, the Scarlet Chorus accused the disfavored of recklessness. The disfavored claimed the Scarlet Chorus brought too few soldiers to cover their flanks. Both armies refused to march until you gave a ruling. Knowing the disfavored reputation for discipline, as well as the Scarlet Chorus's powers to instill fear and frenzy, you decided that the Scarlet Chorus was in the wrong. Lacking proof that the Scarlet Chorus recruits were negligent, you punished the disfavored commander for his failure and for bringing charges without evidence. Huh. Sure, we'll go with this. Scarlet Chorus' commanders argued that the Horde was starving. Being the largest of Kairos' armies, they were also the least provisioned. The men were wrong to steal, but the disfavored were equally wrong to withhold supplies from their allies. You agreed with the Chorus version of events in order that the disfavored supplies be shared. The thieves themselves would be punished with the loss of a hand and return to the front lines. The disfavored found this a sickening aberration of justice and surrendered their supplies with grudging acceptance. Anyways, the Beasts of Stalwart. Scarlet Chorus mages discovered a spell to turn beastmen slaves against their handlers. The army prepared to deploy this tactic elsewhere, but the disfavored protested. The use of unsanctioned magical practices ran contrary to Kairos' law, and the beastmen were considered too erratic to be relied upon. Rather than submit the Scarlet Horse's conscription, conquered locals began committing suicide. Despite desperate to add more bodies to the horde, the Scarlet Horse demanded a portion of disfavored prisoners. The disfavored denied the right of recruitment as the realm's population had taken a steep decline.